Welcome back to the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium. I am Rivington Bislin III, ready for some more Group C action alongside Zach Rusty Pie and Aiden Zyrene Moon. We'll be bringing you the matchup for INTZ Esports versus AHQ, and things are starting to get a little messy in the rankings.
Oh yeah, very interesting, because both of these teams are coming off of losses, and they're trying to look to gain momentum here, because the big thing is those quarterfinal aspirations, they're still alive, but H2K and EDG are very close to locking in their spots.
Yeah, actually very important for both of them. You look towards INTZ, though, and their loss was a little bit more convincing, unfortunately. So perhaps the mentality is a little bit more ready for AHQ on the opposite side.
Absolutely, in INTZ, it's kind of, for the Brazilian team, do or die at this point. A loss here eliminates them from Worlds, so big things have to happen. Pedal to the metal. Here it goes.
Yeah, definitely right. And we have to bring a comparison between both of these teams. You look at one of them, and the mid lane is actually far more important for INTZ. And his role is important strictly because he has to try and keep Westor down, who likes to get around the map and make things happen. If he can keep him in his place in that mid lane, then it might be better for INTZ here, whereas AD carries a bit different on the other side.
Yeah, he definitely has a little bit of an advantage over Macau here, and that's what we're looking for, is who can influence these little upsets, because both teams are actually surprisingly similar to each other and where they have strengths. Yang versus Ziv in the top lane, very stacked top lane there between those two, and then the junglers with Revolta and Mountain, well, whoever gets the early advantage, that's what I'm looking for here, is junglers, top laners, what do they influence in this game?
It's interesting, they have the same biggest strengths when you look at in the top lane, but the middle lane's perhaps an advantage for INTZ if they make it work, but Westor can always go off and is a bit of a wild card in that respect. The bottom lane, you'd always say unreliable late game big carry for the team, and you expect big things from him, whereas Macau is the Ashe player who just throws out arrows.
It's going to be crazy. The early game has actually been impressive from INTZ in the games that they have gotten to win it, albeit the one so far. But being able to hold that lead, being able to snowball a little bit is something that you have to do on the world stage, because the other teams will shut you down immediately before you even get there.
Exactly. They actually had a bit of a delay against EDG in terms of that gold was only 4,000 behind for INTZ, and it stayed that way for a very long time. I believe they've gotten 2 of the first turrets in their games, which is actually very good for a team that's playing from behind, but they have still yet to get a first blood in their games and actually start off on the right foot. And first blood, one of your teammates gives that up, you're immediately like, oh, we're playing from a deficit. So INTZ really help.
Comes back to the strengths of INTZ anyway, right? They just want to play the map. No first blood, not a big surprise. They always go for the turrets instead.
Well, there is the focus for Westor. Once again, 2 bans to him, the Tom Kench as well, to keep it away from Albus. And a lot of those top-tier bans from AHQ, if what you would expect, the Gnar, Syndra, and Nidalee. The Cow making so much more, or having so much more presence on the world stage now, and it's just becoming the first pick.
Yep, Alistar, very, very popular right now. Very high win rate at the moment. 4 Worlds overall.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this is a champion that has been performing constantly, and it's such a great playmaker. So somebody like Jockster having that, he likes to roam. He likes to actually team up with Revolta and move around the map, so it's a great champion for him.
And this group in particular, we've actually been seeing a lot of Caitlyn's picked with the Alistar. Of course, you can put the traps down on the Pulverize. There's a nice combo there, but it also shores up the weaknesses perhaps of Alistar in laning phase. Doesn't mean you have to go Ignite Thunder Cow. You can actually play more defensive, or you can just get better ganks off if your jungler comes down.
Yeah, and the fact that Caitlyn can play really, really passive, put traps down, and then the Alistar gets to roam, and there isn't really too much of a threat of a dive on her. She's very self-sufficient, is something that allows that combo to work. Don't know if INTZ will pick it up here, though, but it is most likely.
10 seconds left on the clock. They're looking at a Jace and an Elise first pickup, which means Mountain could be going hard to either that mid or top lane if he wants, but we did say might be trouble to that bottom lane. We do see the Caitlyn getting locked in, and it's going to be Yang's Poppy for top.
Yeah, so we see that combo locked in for the bottom lane of INTZ. The Poppy is actually something we've seen more often than not into the Alistar, but because there's already a Jace, we've actually seen quite successful matchups, surprisingly, between the Poppy Jace. The Poppy is just a super tank, one of the more efficient like Alistar is, and you don't need a lot of resources to still do your job type of champion.
That's the big thing, is if you have a top laner that gets a little bit behind, it's okay on Poppy, but Yang has been a constant strength for the side of INTZ, and on this Poppy, I want to see if he teams up with Jockster on the Alistar, and if they're able to start rolling around and creating plays for Brazil.
Playmaking potential in that first pick that Yang grabbed in Alistar, but this Bard lock-in could do the same thing if they can land some sweet Tempered Fates. 10 seconds left on that. The Jinx is already there, so they have some global ultimate damage to deal out. Will it be followed up by the Tempered Fate.
Yeah, he's already played the Jinx once, and you were talking about how on hyper-scaling carry for the team actually does a lot of that late game damage for them. And on this champion, I see that if he can make it past that laning phase and get to the mid game, then he'd be in a really good spot.
Yeah, the important thing to me here is that they did lock in the Bard with that, so they can effectively be a pick composition now. They've got Elise, they've got something that works with the Elise. Jace, of course, can gate speed you all up if the Bard ultimate connects, and Jinx will just be sitting back safely as everybody stands in front of her doing damage, but they haven't rounded out their team composition just yet.
Yeah, that's the thing for AHQ is disengage. Little bit lacking that right now. They have the poke kind of pick composition going for them. They have good siege potential, but for AHQ, the worry is INTZ is looking at a very tanky squad. The Aurelion Soul, if that does get locked in for Talkers, it was banned against them previously by EDG. It's a very tanky build that comes out with the Alistar and Poppy. You have to worry a little bit about AHQ's mid-game damage if that Jinx gets shut down.
All right, I was waiting. I was going to say, you take away one, the Hecarim's going to be going in by himself, but they switch it back to the Lee Sin for Revolta, and it will be Talkers on Cassiopeia.
I think the matchup between Lee Sin and Elise isn't all that great. Of course, Spiderlings can block your resonating strike. However, you've got an early pressure jungler now. Revolta's going to be able to try and make things happen where Mountain was already a ganking jungler himself. So basically saying, we'll meet you in the middle and we will fight you where we meet.
Yeah, and the Lee Sin eventually swaps that matchup over into his favor around level 6 is when it turns to him. But the big thing here is that Revolta, it was a champion that was banned against him by EDG. He had his win against EDG on this champion, and he has been loving it. He has a Lee Sin montage from like a year or two ago, and it's been his champion to go to, regardless of like things being banned out. Like Nidalee doesn't matter. He's going to go for it. He's going to try to make those plays and try to shine.
No way.
10 seconds on the hover.
That or Lissandra for him. His other champion is kind of banned out right now.
He's holding on TP, Flash, switch it to Lissandra. We feel the same way. We feel the same way. So it is going to be the list locked in for the mid lane. Westor takes that. It is what he played earlier versus H2K, so he'll try his hand once again to see if he can make a mark in the mid lane.
I will say the unfortunate thing, Westor hasn't played Fizz in quite a while, so they do give themselves an extra bit of engage now with this composition. It aids the pick from the Elise and the Bard. They've got follow-up, they've got someone who can be in the front line. They don't necessarily have a tank, but they've got a lot of outplay between their champions that can be fake tanks, so to speak.
Exactly. They have a lot of CC, and that can be a little bit of a pseudo tank because they're not doing damage to you in those moments. They have a lot of ways to make themselves invulnerable with the Lissandra ulti and the repel, so you can make people swap targets and kind of delay, and that's what tankiness is all about, is gaining that time. So Zhonya's Hourglass is kind of the same concept as well, just delay your opponents. But right now, INTZ have a little bit of a better composition for just straight up playing League of Legends the way that you normally do, instead of doing something a little fancy like a poker pick composition. Straight up team fights definitely favors the INTZ squad.
That's the way I like it. Mano a mano, with 5 of course, and then you fight each other. Don't forget to head on to Twitter. Let us know who you want to take the victory. Show your support with hashtag ITZWin or hashtag AHQWin. We'll tally those up as we get into game. We're going to be looking at the ADs, the mids. Zyrene will be looking at the jungles as well, and we'll bring it all to you in a beautiful simulcast.
That's right. One big thing we do have to see, though, Riv, is the tank line that comes out of INTZ is actually a really big threat towards AHQ. They want to try and win the game. They've got a lot of carries, but if anyone gets ahead from the Brazilian side in the way of Jockers or Yang, it's going to be pretty rough. And Jockers is Jockster as well.
INTZ can really shake things up in the brackets in this group stage. We'll see if they can get the rest of their wins and make the other team sweat it out a little bit.
And looking at the lane matchups, we've been talking a lot about winning lane and losing lane, and what that essentially means is who gets push pressure early, because for the junglers, it's all about, hey, I'm going to go invade the jungle. Does my top laner have a way to push the other top laner in, and does my mid laner have a way to push the other mid laner in, so I can invade that side and they could help me and reinforce me faster? When I look across, AHQ actually have a little bit of a push advantage in almost every one of their lanes. I'd actually say that they have a push advantage in every lane if they want it.
They definitely do.
Little love.
Bit of extra gold there for Albus, let's say. 10 for Jockster, still has the bandit himself.
Pick his pockets, why not?
Here we go.
So Macau's just making sure they aren't trying anything tricky as well, getting that ward down.
Pretty badass recall.
Breaking chairs. Why not?
Even better with the logo underneath him.
Thunderlord's Cow. We'll see actually how hard they go in lane. Like we said, if you can stay pretty safe on that Alistar, Macau and Jockster shouldn't get out of this lane too poorly.
They have chosen to do the Thunder Cow, as you mentioned, which does mean when you look at the losing lanes that they actually have between mid and top, they have a potentially winning lane with the Caitlyn, the Ignite Alistar, and Revolta being near there. So perhaps we look towards the Lee Sin, who will be starting on the top side of the map, to path his way down towards bottom.
Yeah, you do always have to be a little bit wary, though, with the double teleport from AHQ, making plays on the bottom side, because you would be a little bit late in the reinforcements. And another thing that I actually want to point out here is the start is a little bit different. Revolta starts on his Wolves. He's actually making the adaptation that Clearlove made against him, and then Mountain is actually starting on his red buff. So this may be a little bit of a tell that he might go for an invade, might want to try to go like buffs right into a gank.
Yeah, it looks like a cheat clear from Revolta. So Raptors into red buff, and then perhaps Scuttle control, I think, is a big thing that they're going to look towards. So Mountain and Revolta alike may actually meet at the Crab and try and have a smite off for it, as they will both have that smite available. But of course, big camps do come first. So we look at the clear speed.
And you're talking about bot side Scuttle control. Very important when you want to keep your bottom lane safe. It allows you to not have to ward as deep and maybe only put one ward down. And that's why you can see AHQ actually shoving in rather early. They know they're safe around this time. You don't have to worry too much about a gank until about 3 minutes in.
What's interesting as well is that Tok has placed a ward near the Raptors. He knows that they're still up and alive, so the Elise is evidently not there. They would assume is now cheat clearing, and they might actually get some better pressure on the bottom side of the map now on the assumption that he is going to be there.
And that was also pinged out by AHQ, so he may even want to avoid that now. Mountain can do whatever he wants. Like you said, picking up this river control, going to be big between an Elise and Lee Sin. Oh, hello.
Yep. So he knows the Scuttle's gone. He knows Mountain's on this side. Right now, Revolta, though, sitting on this bottom side in that tri-brush.
If they find them, remember, it is a Ignite Alistar. Lots of damage can come from that if it connects.
Getting some chimes as he goes around. It'll work.
So they actually have the information that Raptors is actually warded, and also that their blue buff is warded, because the Wolf Spirit was just about to time out, and it showed that Ziv was entering the jungle on the top side. So INTZ have a lot of information right now to work with, and you can see that Revolta is still hanging around that bottom side. There's a lot of great gank assistance here if Jockster wants to blow a flash and start a play off.
Really wants it here.
There it is.
Right onto On. Headbutt pulverize. They could have a good one on this. Exhaust for Revolta. Oh, the journey goes all the way through. Jockster's in a real bad spot now. Rocking a hard place, and it looks like he may just go down. Flash Ignite is out, and there's no chase. They got to go back for the minions.
He absolutely misclicked to go through the magical journey. Had no idea where he was going and almost ends up dying underneath the turret, but Lee Sin's able to be there. Of course, they were the ones putting the gank on. Mountain nowhere nearby, so very good play in the end to survive, but shouldn't have taken that journey.
Not at all. A lot of the times you're right-clicking on the person, go straight in.
Gotta get him.
Big mistake there, but he blows both of his summoner spells, and it's only the exhaust that's returned from AHQ. So summoner spell advantage in the bottom lane, despite them being the ones that got ganked. And Mountain does exactly the right play here. He ends up smiting the Wolves, and he ends up getting the blue buff. So he has full control of this side.
See if On and Elvis play a little bit more aggressive with that Ignite being down. Good combo could still push them out of lane. Level 4 now to 2 level 3s. Elvis doing everything he can to get some Cosmic Bindings locked in there.
Yeah.
So far, so good. 32 to 29. Everything's pretty much even across the board. Just waiting for a little jungler love to a lane once again.
Yeah, of course, this bottom lane 2v2. They've lost the point. Actually, he's back in again, Revolta.
There it is, right onto On. Now it's the flash. He takes the resonating strike in, but it's no finish. Can he get the Peacemaker? It's not going to come out. And now the TP comes in. This is going to be actually Westor getting the lockdown on Jockster. Remember, he just used his flash to get out of the last play. The Pulverize save his life. Triumphant Roar. It's not there to heal himself. And they try to turn it around. Everything's been used by AHQ, and they're on the cooldowns, but INTZ cannot rebuttal that.
The teleport out of Westor enough to get it, but Tokas is even nearby. They may want to dive this one.
They're very low. If you can get the push on the wave, even without your support here as the Caitlyn, you can totally dive this.
They're going to try to keep it just outside minion wave. Locked it there. Perfect. Now they can't dive. No minions to help them.
Aggro.
They're right out front. Oh, they still want to kill. Revolta coming in. Beautiful job. Makes it out alive now for Albus, and they will be able to pick up the 2 kills.
Slow, patient play from INTZ, bringing everybody down here in the end, but very effectively done. Even tanking the turret and still getting out alive is exceptional.
Exactly. And on the top side, AHQ, they start making a play over there, cross-map play, but this was really well played by INTZ. They end up losing Jockster, but what they end up getting afterwards is very important because they don't end up losing anybody to the turret. but it's a cross-map play that you are going to get punished for, and it'll be the first turret going over to AHQ, as you can see in the bottom left side of your screen.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Arn also flashes into 2 of the shrines, so gets a lot of health back. It's the only reason that they live as long as they do, and what looks like was going to be a good thing for AHQ that they survived this long actually comes back to hurt them, because you can see the ward placed at the same time as INTZ looking to pressure aggressively, and Westor getting out alive is the only saving grace in a situation like this.
This is also super good, making sure that the minion wave does not walk all the way up. Talkers has to take aggro, but Revolta takes 2 shots, only survives because of his safeguard. And then Yang takes another shot, doesn't end up killing him there, so 2 for 1.
Knocks him into the miasma and steals the kill as well there, the Cassiopeia.
It's the person you wanted on, though, so I definitely agree with that.
All right. Albus, all that action actually leaves Albus with a level 5. They may be able to work off a level 6 ultimate if Joxer doesn't hit that soon. And mid lanes are now at 6. We just saw Albus with a bit of a roam towards mid. Nothing came of it, but we do see AHQ now trying to spread that vision and get a little bit more out from these plays, because it's starting to get chaotic really early.
It's very chaotic already very early in the game, and you were talking about it, Rusty. You can see it in the CS discrepancy. On, a little bit ahead of Macau, Talker's a little bit ahead of Westor right now, and this is where these 2 teams need to leverage their advantages because they're so even on the top half of the map.
Yeah, the things that should be happening from having a teleport on the Lissandra, it kind of makes sense that he's behind in CS. However, Talkers has been roaming everywhere also towards the bottom side of the map and has just been doing it, I'd have to say, more efficiently at this point because he still has the CS advantage whilst they're matching in the kills. So a big power play potentially available when Revolta hits 6 in that middle lane.
Playing very patient, trying to play in the mind of Mountain. We saw a lot of pings there to Raptor, and just below Talkers, Revolta stayed mid, thinking, yeah, you might be right, there may be a counter gank here. But so far, it's just breathing room. Who is going to be the next to attack? Blue delivered over to Westor. We may see some action in that mid lane.
And at the bottom, you can see right now, Joxter places his pink ward down. This means that Revolta most likely wants to find a way to this bottom lane, hitting 6. He still has flash. Joxter's has his again. AHQ, they don't have theirs.
Bad.
Whoa. Albus. And on the wrong side of the fence there. That's going to be a TP coming in as well. That is on the top. Ooh. Ziv is into the fight now. What can he do? Throws down his W. Can he get to the skies?
Oh, so
can he get the kill? He gets in for the auto attack. That's what matters. And they're going to try to get out of this one. A beautiful Peacemaker through both AHQ members, but no follow-up as they're just forced to farm it out.
Yeah, but this is good for the top side of the map because Yang, he needs to still shove that turret out because he lost his own earlier.
Great job by Talkers. Pushing Westor out of lane with that blue buff up. Westor's just trying to clear minions so he doesn't have too much trouble at the turret. Yang pushed up to his as well as Ziv teleported out. But you can see with Ziv already having somewhat of a lead, it's not going to hurt him on that teleport.
And speaking of, Yangs is not too far from being available himself. So he's actually done well in this lane between the Poppy and Jace. They're both relatively even, except there's the potential map play available. The Cloud Drake that was started by Mountain had to be stopped because they found the Bard, and so the opportunity still is there if it presents itself for the Brazilian side to be aggressive around it.
That's really cute right there. That ward that Talkers has in that middle of the lane is really useful for seeing which side Westor actually goes to when he starts to roam, but it did spot the little Coco up there, so knows that the Bard was nearby.
Gotta watch out. That's the sneaky Coco. Oh, another attempt at the Cloud Drake. Let's see if they can get it on this one. It's only going to be Joxter coming in. I think he'll be a little late to the party as INTZ says, all right, we'll take this time to pull our resources.
Yeah, really well timed actually, making sure they take it as the blue buff spawns. So playing to the tendencies perhaps of INTZ. Mountain maybe even reading Revolta means that they get themselves the free objective. Speaking of.
Oh, nice stun.
He has level 6. He can use it if he really needs to get out of this one.
Press it.
Nice dodge, yeah. Looks like he's actually going to go in, bait him for a little bit of extra damage, and they trade on that one. Has to pop it in the end. Thought there was more follow-up, but good choice.
Yeah, he started channeling Ace in the hole, and it got interrupted there just barely, so it went on a small cooldown.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have to challenge Joxter not using his ultimate until that late. As cancelled recall. It means that he's going to have no health. It was a good dodge of the Jinx ultimate, but you'd assume better safe than sorry. Pop the ulti early, make sure you don't take as much damage as you did, and actually be able to stay in the lane. But instead, he has to go back. Yeah,
INTZ, it looked like they assumed, hey, don't pop it just yet. That would dissuade them from actually chasing you. Because if he pops it as soon as he gets locked up by the Chompers, you probably walk away as AHQ. And this baits them in a little bit further, so Macau returns some damage. But because On is running Warlord's Bloodlust, he's able to get his HP back very quickly.
Nice dodge by Yang. Gets himself to safety. He's been playing very, very safe all game. They just need him to get into those late game poppy fights. He's doing a great job of it so far. Falling a little bit behind in CS, but like we said, won't need as many of those resources.
Yeah.
So they have eyes on Mountain. We'll see what Talkers actually goes through here. Great warding by AHQ through this side of the jungle.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Mountain, hasn't really been shown too much on the map. Is more just trying to play towards his lanes, maybe let Ziv win harder than he otherwise would. It's good to see him also looking towards that top side. Remember, the threat of Westor's teleport is ever present also, so they can threaten this turret. And if someone tries to match them in 2v2, it's actually not.
At least Yang doesn't feel lonely this game. Two
That's
people
fair.
hanging out in his lane the whole time. Still waiting for big ults, that Tempered Fate in the bot lane. They decided to hold it even when Joxer was super, super low. So, could have an explosion down on the bot side. Remember, Westor's 1 kill as well, 1 for Ziv in the top lane. So AHQ is looking pretty good as they move ahead.
Revolta's been up here for so long, but so is Mountain.
Yeah, potentially trying to find the 2v2s, but as you mentioned earlier, Riv, the warding's still quite good from AHQ in all the right places. So they will spot him. Nice headbutt.
Doing quite a bit of damage with those meeps. I'm sure Joxer is not enjoying it. Just waiting for his AD carry to get back to lane. They've been actually pretty back and forth. They're not timed the same, I should say, on their back, so that may be hurting them a little bit.
Yeah, and now On is going to back, probably pick up a pickaxe here, or a recurve bow for himself.
Yep.
Start working towards the Runan's Hurricane.
Yeah.
He's going to try to shove it out and get some turret damage.
Also going straight towards the pickaxe instead of completing the Hurricane that you're alluding towards. It means he wants just more physical damage, wants to be auto-attacking more perhaps, has less of an emphasis on actually wave clearing and more on hitting his opponents in the lane. Bard, very fragile champion. Elise also doesn't build a lot of tanky stats, so... Whoa.
Oh.
Hello.
I think he... I don't know if he's trying to kick it over the wall, but...
to Jockers, it seemed like, yeah. Miasma goes down to the Tri-Brush, he hits it.
Yeah, that was...
Didn't listen to his body.
That was reaching there from Talkers, trying to actually stun him over the wall. And even if he did, he doesn't get much time to actually open up on him. But if he flashes or something, Ziv doesn't have his own for this a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Safe to assume it's off cooldown, perhaps when you're trying to time it in your head in a in-the-moment type of situation. I think it was more so just to save Revolta, who tried to make a highlight reel play, didn't actually need to, and unfortunately doesn't go the way he planned, and then some.
Ooh. And finds a bit of damage down on that bot side. That play would have blown our minds, though, if it did.
Absolutely.
14 minutes coming up. Not too much aggression after our first fights in the bot lane. Things have kind of slowed down. You get this 2v1 in the top for Yang. He's finally able to fight Ziv a bit. All right.
Yep.
Keeper's verdict on it.
Gets the flash so quickly from the snapcast of the Keeper's verdict and making sure that, Ziv doesn't actually get a poppy in front of him and then gets knocked back. So now they know that flash is on cooldown here. That matchup in the top lane may not be going the way that AHQ wanted it to for much longer, because it's only a 1.5k gold lead for AHQ, and that's what that turret is.
It would actually be really nice if Yang can get this to the turret. I wonder if Ziv will just try to acceleration gate all the way up here. He may have to teleport in. He'll miss the entire wave. Looks like he will walk it out.
Yeah, really good play from Yang to push it in. And one of the things that we haven't mentioned in this matchup is that if Ziv goes into hammer form, tries to be aggressive, you can't actually dash to the Poppy. So Poppy will win most melee trades. So Jace wants to stay in ranged form, and you can see his mana pool will pretty much be consistently super low because hammer form is how you get it back.
Oh, the days of getting a tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are gone.
They do take that TP, they keep in the top lane. It means a lot to have right now in the game, they feel. Also, with Westdoors being up, they may be deciding to play 1 minute on that Mountain Drake as we see Revolta trying to clear some wards. Instant prison from Westdoors. The follow-up there, the flash is over. As Mountain says, here, Westdoor have this, but he didn't.
Yeah, manages to live. Rocket doesn't connect as well, so good play in the end from Revolta to flash out to safety. But again, pathing aggressively through his own jungle, getting caught out by an Elise and the Lissandra, a pit composition. They should be respecting vision a little bit more.
Look at this. They're just trying to get this bottom turret, and that's what AHQ have been setting up for a long time. You look at the bottom side of the map, it is just littered with wards because they have been trying to put pressure on this side, whereas Ziv, he just keeps pushing top, even without vision now. And it's a little risky on that top side, but because they found Revolta in the jungle, he can 100% do that. And talking about the Summoner Spell trade and what happened, Westor blew his. So there is a possibility for INTZ to make a play, but at the same time, AHQ going to look for one themselves.
All right, it's going to be the lockdown. Cosmic Binding didn't hit the wall.
Ooh.
Petrifying Gaze right back in the face of AHQ. A little off on the Cosmic Binding.
Yeah, if Talkers actually saved his cleanse for just one little half second later, he would have gotten rid of the exhaust and would have returned a lot of damage there, but he was a little bit too fast. He's too good.
I think AHQ also mind-gamed themselves by getting stunned. You don't often expect the Cassiopeia anymore to just throw the ultimate the second she comes out of that stasis from the Bard. So everyone getting stunned and Talker's not getting stunned, of course, still having the cleanse. He can kind of just walk away from it.
Well played. For the few times AHQ has been here to poke at the Dragon, looks like INTZ is going to be the one that picks up Mountain. Let's see how they use this if they head to the bot lane. Jocksters and Macau with a nice push on the turret, getting a little bit of extra damage on that as well. But still this Yang getting pushed up by Ziv in the top lane as well. We'll have to see when these teams group who's really going to have more power.
Yeah, I'm looking for Macau's trap setup because it hasn't happened. He's got 4 ranks into it, 3 into his Q, just ranked up as well. So there it is, 5 in the traps now. Very low cooldown on them, so I'm expecting him to start placing them across the lane to start these sieges.
Yeah, he's going to be delayed on that Hurricane as well that he went for the pickaxe. So wave clear still not an important factor. I'm still expecting a dive from INTZ or something aggressive towards this lane in particular, which again is different to what we're used to seeing from them as they want to get Yang going. Revolta loves to camp that area of the map. Even Talkers can come down and help, and it's something we are seeing in this game.
Every time they have a chance, AHQ is going 100% on being able to ward an area. If he saw Revolta, they said we can go in a little safe. And it gets a little dangerous. Mountains could get out of this one alive, or will I should say, as Westor is going to help him out. Don't know if the ult was necessary, but good guy Westor.
Starting to feel like Cassiopeia is running away with this middle lane, and it's reflected through Jockster even being nearby to take some health away from Mountain. Still a fragile champion running around in that jungle and gets caught out for it. Even the Abyssal Scepter helps a little bit with the Cow's damage.
It's actually quite impressive too. Even when we saw Westor get that early blue, it was still Talkers pushing him out of lane, pushing him way back to his turret. They're doing a very good job. As you say, 190 to 170 in that lane so far. But Westor did pick up that kill earlier on the teleport, so he is still in this with the Proto Belt.
It's actually a pretty good bait here from On because he's faking the back right now, making sure that they try to stop it so he doesn't get a good back timing. But Albus was there waiting just so he could return some damage if On got interrupted, and that's exactly what happened there to Macau.
Yeah, for those who don't actually know the strategy, you can just fake recalling all the time. When you're losing lane, when they're freezing a wave, just pretend you're going back to base, and people instinctively want to push the wave. It just comes back to you.
Yep. And it's back twice in their face, and walk off screen and
act
back.
like you missed the bush. Yeah.
That's my favorite. Just sitting outside the bush. Oh, gotta walk in and do it again. The mind games come into play. Oh, so early in League of Legends. 19 minutes hit the clock.
Double TP bot as they're
Quick
trying to
walk
take this
off
turret.
Tempered Fate and a forward ward that was not clear. Like you said, Zyrene, they're going to go for the turret here. Macau very low, very dead. And that's going to be Unbreakable Will still used. Jockster trying to buy time for the rest of the team. And it looks like mid's going to get a good push here. And Revolta's just farming it out, so it's a time waster. Good job by both sides.
Yep, but now they get the push on the mid side for INTZ. Bot, though, has a Jace in it, does a ton of damage to these turrets with the Hypercharge, being rank 5 already. Smashes the turret, make sure you change forms, and then hit the turret, get that extra burst of damage out.
And speaking of Ziv, all of the pressure that he's had on the top side of the map does mean an answer is difficult from this INTZ side. Yang doesn't use his teleport, doesn't get in and chooses to save it. And so INTZ's resolve and shot calling in that situation was just get the turret, get whatever you can from it, and now get Talkers.
Glacial Prison goes down.
Yep.
Interesting.
Got the root out. The cleanse came on the Cocoon. So he won't have it for the next ult clip from Westor, which is up fairly shortly.
Right. Frozen Tomb, not Glacial Prison.
Yeah, Sejuani, I think, is the other one.
Yeah.
It's Frozen Tomb, Glacial
Always
Prison.
get 'em.
They're basically synonyms.
So seeing what happens actually when AHQ can reach these turrets, we saw Ziv there, but they also have on Jinx, so he can be able to just tear these things apart as well. Having Ziv in the side lane has just been able to get them that extra money even earlier out of these turrets, and they're going to start getting those items necessary to win these fights.
I guess one really curious thing about this is how both teams can excel at sieging, but also at countering the siege. So you try and get in against AHQ with the Caitlyn traps, then they can flank you with the Lissandra, or they can poke you out with the Jace. The same thing applies in the opposite direction. So there's a chance that we just get a standoff in the middle lane when both teams decide their best strategy is actually just a siege.
Yeah, and then you can't fall into the, if you're AHQ, you can't fall into the we just need to team fight you unless On is rather far ahead and is in a good position, because it's rather hard to team fight against the Poppy, the Alistar, and just this entire team of INTZ that has a lot of ways to displace you and actually mess your team up and move them around.
Yeah, Albus also showing that he's quite a capable Bard in this game, has been hitting most of his spells and giving Arn everything that he needs, all of the tools possible to carry this game out.
INTZ as well, once hitting 9, haven't really backed yet. They've either been forced to stay out in lanes because their trinkets have not been upgraded, which may be why AHQ is able to put all these wards around them. Double TP to the bot lane without it being seen. Here we'll see what happens on the top side. Tempered Fate missed, but double flash to get out of that.
Yeah, and Albus has been on top of his game here, especially today. I mean, he was actually the all LMS support.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I believe that he had gotten that this year, because it was always like Sword Art was a little bit better, and he, I believe, actually swapped roles to become a support fairly long time ago now. So Albus, he's definitely adjusted to the role, and he is very good support.
It's such an unusual dynamic to the norm of these teams also. Mid lane's doing a big part of the carrying as Ziv and Yang, Heli Poppy.
Gets him out right as Mountain comes in.
The first choice is the right one.
This is good, though. You get pressure on the top side. Mountain can't actually kill you. Oh, picks up a 5. 5 gold.
This should actually translate towards damage on the top turret at the very least. We know that Poppy's had control for a lot of this laning phase early, and so it should be a free turret to take like that.
INTZ was like, all right, it's been pushed enough. Get somebody that can clear waves. Talker's up here to clear it. Revolta for some safety. They do have eyes on West Door, but it's not going to stop AHQ from still having the vision to be able to take Dragon. Next, Cloud Drake as well. So Mountain and Cloud for AHQ. Or Mountain for INTZ, Cloud for AHQ.
A lot of map trade-offs at the moment for both of these teams. No one actually looking for the fight, so to speak. Of course, we know that INTZ want to play the macro style, so it's good to see them being comfortable, but yeah, definitely a lot of anti-fighting.
Yeah, both these teams are quite good at the macro game, and that's something that coming into Worlds, well, these are two regions that people have rather low expectations for, but I don't think it's as warranted anymore because they've both actually shown what they're made of and that they understand how to play League of Legends at a very high level. And they deserve to be here for sure.
Absolutely.
That's an Infernal Drake next.
Oh, I did. Yeah, so that have 2 Clouds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and swap
Infernal Drake switch. That'll be next. AHQ looking poised to be able to take that at least with their vision now. We'll have to wait and see how it's cleared out in the next 5.5. 39.5 to 37.5. It's not too big of a lead here, and that'll start to get even smaller as the game goes on.
Yeah, you'd have to say at this stage, it's still anybody's game. There's no one really in an advantageous position, albeit AHQ having a slight gold edge and perhaps Ziv feeling quite comfortable, one of the big carries of the team, but there's definite answers constantly available.
Well, been waiting for this for a little bit. Talkers uses the cleanse to get out. That may signify another engage here by AHQ if they can find the window to get in. Ziv still with his head onto pushing waves, so he's going to get that done in the mid lane. They always have somebody working off the ball to keep an advantage, even if they're not getting the engage they want. Does Westdoor take the claw? He does, right over the wall. Talkers goes down. Mega Death Rocket coming through. Revolta just trying to get out, but the shock blast from Ziv. Very nicely done.
And AHQ turn it on. They find that little advantage. They're going to turn straight towards that Baron in 24 minutes right after steamrolling INTZ.
Remember, they've got the Jace, they've got the Jinx. That's a lot of damage they can put onto this objective, and they're absolutely melting it right now. AHQ find control out of catching INTZ out of position.
And it was Albus once again. Tempered Fate onto a target that had blown the flash previously. Hits Talkers. Nothing he can do about it. And then Revolta tries to help his buddy out. Immediately, Ziv takes down the mid turret and helps from the backside.
Yeah, I look forward to the replay as well. Actually, Westdoor playing that quite smartly when he goes over the wall. You'll see it here because he wants to flash the Alistar combo. Instantly flashes and dodges it. Very impressive and cerebral moves from the mid laner of AHQ, which is a pleasure to see.
Yeah, and Talkers at the same time, he threw out his ultimate towards where Westdoor would be, and it ends up having Westdoor flash it instead of using it towards the members that were coming from the front. And now On
gets excited, looking for Revolta. A nice dodge on the cocoon, and Revolta still goes down anyway. Talker's now the next in their eyes as a priority target, and the TP's coming in as well. It's a party in the top lane. Mountain picks up that one, and AHQ is on a roll.
A 4, 1, and 6 for On. He is definitely online on this Jinx and ready to smash some turrets.
Yeah, 5 minutes ago you could have heard a pin drop, but they're still not done, AHQ.
wondered when the fuse was going to be lit. It looked like Albus was the one to throw out the first stick of dynamite, and AHQ had the rest. Now onto the inhibitors and the inhibitor turrets going down. They've opened up the base at 26 minutes, and that's going to be incredibly hard for INTZ to deal with.
And really good play once again. Know how much they can take. Back away, reset, still have the Baron buff available to them. Do not give INTZ any opportunities. No. And just close out as effectively as they possibly can.
Yeah, we were looking at about a 2,000 gold lead for AHQ just minutes ago, and now it's ballooned all the way up to a 10,000 gold lead for themselves. They want to catch H2K. They still want to have that quarterfinal slot for themselves and possibly play a tiebreakers or even just take it.
Setting up vision on the side of INTZ. What could be their next opening? Which direction can they go in as they're getting pushed in on each lane?
Well, INTZ right now, well, they have to actually stall a little bit, farm up. Sadly, it's, it's the thing you say when you're behind, but AHQ have so many ways to force the option and force actually a team fight to come out. This Infernal Drake is up in 1 minute and 30 seconds. You're probably going to have to give it over to this Jinx, who is now running around, absolutely fed, 3 items completed, getting a little bit more magic resistance just for insurance, and you have to kill on if you want to start these fights off on the right foot if you're INTZ.
Yeah, the real problem to me is they need somebody to be top all the time, so Yang has to go there, doesn't have his teleport, Tokas doesn't have a teleport, so AHQ can 1-3-1 and slow play. INTZ's best opportunity is to actually just find the fight. That's not going to go right for them here.
Cosmic Binding, Yang gets pulled out of the fight as his team got locked up way behind him. The rest of AHQ became Bass Brothers going in. That's Westor Zanya's. He still has safety. Ultimate down. Shock Blast onto Talkers, though. Got to be on your toes as they have poke, they have catch, and they have siege to get into that fight as they dive this now. And On is still there on the backside, getting excited with the rest of the team. They're going to destroy these turrets and then head back for Dragon.
And they have
if they even need it.
There might
if they even need it. 28 minutes going on to the Nexus turrets, and it is INTZ out of position, but still trying to fight. Coming off the bases, they sprint right to the kills and possibly their own deaths. AHQ scattering perfectly, not going down, just the red bars blinking, and they may keep themselves alive as they take down INTZ's Nexus. An explosion play to start the mid game, and AHQ takes it.
That's pretty impressive from AHQ. An early game from INTZ that was pretty strong. They looked like they had the ball rolling, and one big moment is all that was needed to define AHQ's game here, and absolutely smashing the end of the game.
You can see, shocked as well. Like we said, you mentioned it, you could have heard a pin drop between 10 and 23 minutes. 3 minutes later, AHQ was taking Baron and then the game.
Yeah, that's all about seizing the moment, also catching someone out of position. It's as simple as removing the cleanse from Tokas and then re-engaging, knowing that it's not available. And just from that, the Baron, the push towards top lane, very well executed.
Yeah, Albus with the catches, with the Tempered Fate getting 2 flashes and then opening up the game with the catch on the Talkers as Revolta tried to help him out. And that's actually going to be INTZ no longer being able to make it to the quarterfinals now, where there are 3 teams, I believe, with 3 wins right now, with EDG, H2K, and AHQ.
Love to see this composition coming out from AHQ. They had the ultimates, or I'm sorry, the shock blast from Jace on Ziv. Tempered Fates when they actually wanted to get up, and those shock blasts did enough damage, and they could have stayed back if they wanted to, or had Westor dive in. They played it perfectly on each way, and the communication was there the whole time.
That's right. They had a pick composition, but the way that they did it was quite elegant. There was a couple of mishaps where Poppy was ulting people away, but all things considered, a very well-rounded game from AHQ.
Yeah, I love the double teleport as well. I think the double TP, Westor played to his strengths there. TP to the bottom with the double teleport that they used. He even used one by himself without the top laner as Ziv was just trying to push an advantage. So I think that was something that really took INTZ off guard. And now, INTZ, even though they can't make the quarterfinals, they still actually came here, took a win off of EDG, and actually showed people what they are made of. And I still think they're going to keep fighting.
Absolutely, they will, without a doubt, keep fighting through this tournament. Now it's time now to check in with our analysts for a closer look at that AHQ win.
Thank you very much, Riv. And yes, unfortunately, that spells the end of quarterfinal hopes for INTZ here. But of course, we still have plenty of action to figure out in terms of the top 3 teams fighting for that 1 and 2 positions. AHQ keeping their quarterfinal dreams alive with this victory. And although they did manage to get the victory here, I know we had some criticisms towards the team comp that was crafted here, seeming a little disjointed in terms of how they're supposed to win.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit frustrating being an AHQ fan. You look at last year, Westdoor had 2 champions and their comps didn't really mesh together. This year, it's kind of the same problem. There's only Lissandra and Malzahar right now. They have a Poe composition, Lissandra that goes all in, and then a Jinx who cleans up the composition. So at first it was like, how do you make this all work together? And I think Albus is the one that did tie it together with all of his picks. But overall, I still don't think this is a great composition.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think a little bit of everything doesn't work against some of the absolute best teams in the world, and especially once you get later into the game. But this was a very classic AHQ kind of game where Westdoor is on a teleport champion. He loses lane slightly, and then whenever he has a chance to go to, especially the bottom lane, he goes for it. We saw INTZ not really respect it a few times. If you don't put pink wards behind you and you start hitting the tower against double teleport, you're going to get ganked and you're going to die. So it actually worked out in the end for AHQ, but I think it's more due to them just being a better team than INTZ than the composition being great. Yeah, especially because, again, as you mentioned, we had Talkers with full control of that mid lane. You know, Negatron Cloak plus Tier into just Lucidity boots for Lissandra. It kind of looked like that lane was absolutely over, but a couple good double TP plays in the bot lane brought them back into it. Jat, thoughts here?
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about this game, because we can see the reasons in which we don't like AHQ playing Westdoor. He cedes control of the lane over to Talkers, but then we also see the reasons that AHQ like playing Westdoor. He had some sick initiations with Lissandra, especially when he was able to flash that Alistar Q in the middle of the team fight, and was one of the big reasons they were able to win this game so quickly as far as 29 minutes are concerned and stay completely alive in this group, up next as EDG.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Of course, 23 or 25-30 into the game was where AHQ was able to secure a 3-0 plus a Baron and a mid turret on the back end of this fight, all starting with Albus.
Yeah, this engage was from so far away. You see the Albus ult go down, and then Lissandra comes in, actually flashes past the Cassiopeia ult, does not get hit, and then you see the Elise Cocoon hitting on the Revolta, does not get the Lee Sin kick to disengage. They get 3 players off that, and Baron, and pretty much end the game pretty soon after.
Yeah, and that was the way their team comp is supposed to work. It's a squishy, hard engage comp, if that's a almost...
It's a thing now.
It's a thing. It's now a thing that AHQ can do. But it worked because Lissandra can go in, basically become a tank. Jay speeds everyone up, shoots a shock blast in. And for once, On does a lot of damage in this game. Ziv did not do the most damage on his team.
Yeah, On got so many early kills, but to go back to your Westdoor point as well, I think the very interesting thing is when he's playing against a mid laner who's not able to destroy him in the laning phase, you can actually play Westdoor. You can put him on Lissandra, who loses almost every single lane matchup anyway. Give him teleport and just say, go top or go bot. Literally just get either Ziv or Ana ahead. That's your only job. I just think it was such a poor call to have it earlier when they play against teams with very good mid laners who can really put you under pressure. And that's also why when against EDG, they swapped him out last week, and they're probably going to do the same here because you can't just come into that game with playing like 1 or 2 champions only.
And that question will be answered in Game 6. Of course, INTZ is playing H2K up next. Before we get to that, though, I want to talk about player of the game. It's going to Albus because, as we mentioned, a disjointed team composition where we weren't really sure how they were going to be able to craft a win. It was all him. Play set up left and right, making the picks to get them the Baron and give them the tools to end up winning the game.
I'm just so proud of this player. He didn't start out as a support. He won LMS first team support twice this year, actually beat out Sword Art, a much more famous name. And he actually only played Bard once in the regular split, but it was fantastic. Everybody started banning against him, and he's able to show down the world stage that he's such a versatile player and works with his communication very well.
And of course, we have some really interesting stuff working out here in terms of the standings. If H2K does get the expected victory against INTZ, they will move to 4-2. EDG and H2K both sit at 3-2 themselves. So then whoever wins that game would move into a tie with H2K. And of course, that's obnoxious. If for whatever reason INTZ beats H2K and H2K drops to 3-3, we could have a situation where if EDG or H2K or AHQ win, we have a tiebreaker for second place. So no matter what today, we will have a tiebreaker. We just don't know if it's going to be for first or second place.
Yeah, let's.
That's a lot of stuff.
I know that was a lot of information.
All agree we don't want H2K in that tiebreaker. That's all we can agree on.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
but H2K is the only team that's guaranteed to get a tiebreaker. if the other teams lose, they're out.
That's fair.
That's a very good point there. All right, well, INTZ and HQK battle it out after the break, so stay with us.
Getting the lockdown on Joxer. Remember, he just used his flash to get out of the last play. The pulverize save his life. Triumphant roar. It's not there to heal himself. The right out front. Oh, they still want to kill. Revolta coming in. Beautiful job. Makes it out alive now for Albus, and they will be able to pick up the 2 kills.
And now On
gets excited, looking for Revolta. A nice dodge on the cocoon, and Revolta still goes down anyway. Talker's now the next in their eyes as a priority target, and the TP's coming in as well. An explosion play to start the mid-game, and AHQ takes it.
Dare to be different. Revel in the impossible. Introducing a little anarchy. Disrupting the natural order. Because a hero lies in all of us. Nothing is beyond your reach. Claim your victory and go forth to conquer new worlds.